Okay, welcome everybody. We're so glad that you're here with us. My name's Lexi Hall. I'm a dietitian, and I get the honor of working with this guy over here, Chef Andrew. And we both get to work for and with our Max Love participants. So we're so grateful to be here with you. We've been doing, not just Andrew and I, but Max Love as a group has been teaching these culinary classes since 2013, so 10 years. And over the course of the last year, we put together this amazing cookbook. Not just Andrew and I, a lot of amazing people had their talents in this, but we're so happy with it. We are celebrating it today. Our theme today of what we're talking about is
Super simple.
super simple. Yes. So we're talking about simplicity and how to make things simple, how to make things so that Andrew's going to start off with, what are you starting off with today, Andrew?
Today, we're going to start off with the Portobello Mushroom Pizzas. And a little tip, and maybe I'm stealing Alexi's thunder, but I tab my book with the recipes that I'm working on with these little tabs. And so that makes it easy. That's a super simple tab for like if you're doing a couple for the day. And from page 74 of the book, we're doing the Portobello Mushroom Pizzas, but we're going to do it a little bit more simple than what's in the book. So this is the remix for today. We're going to do Portobello pizzas, 4 to 5 ingredients, and we're going to do 5 different vinaigrettes with 4 to 5 ingredients. And I'm going to talk about ratios for vinaigrettes and how to really kind of build it from scratch. And you could basically do whatever you like. So this is kind of gives you some basics, some ratios, and a way to make your kitchen a little bit easier and a little bit more simple when the day gets crazy. Tomorrow for me is the first day of school that for my little kids, and I know everybody's going back into the school year. So it's a crazy time, and this month is about bringing it back to making it easy and a little bit more simple in your life.
Andrew came up with this theme, and I'm so excited just to talk about the health benefits of it, because if we can make food simple, if we can use what we have, the reasons for it, I mean, you save money, you save time, you definitely get more nutrients out of your food than grabbing something quick and simple, like from a fast food drive-in or something like that. So less prep time if you know what you're doing. And those tabs that Andrew just brought up on the pages, one of the biggest tips that we can give in making food simple is to have a little bit of planning it for it. You don't have to have a full-on gorgeous menu set up, but if you're going for some different menus, hand the book to the kids and have the kids look at the menu and look at these incredible pictures that are all throughout this cookbook, and have them stick a stick-it note on 5 of the ones that they want to try this week. Because that way your meals are all planned out and you know the ingredients from the recipes on there, and it's such a simple thing to do. So these recipes that he's picked out for today, the make your own salad dressing that he's picked out, he's going to show you how to mix ratios and a few basic rules to making your own salad dressing, but then how to take whatever you have at home and put it together. When we have a store-bought dressing, almost without fail, the first ingredient on that store-bought dressing is sugar. And then it's all kinds of different other ingredients that really don't bring us health. They're not nutritionally dense most of the time. And so Andrew's going to show a few basic rules, and then he's going to show you some examples. And then there's 3 more examples on page 174 with 3 different basic simple vinaigrettes in there. And then he's going to show you these Portobello pizzas, and he's going to show you all kinds of fillings to go in them. But the cool thing about it is that anything you have on hand will fit inside an example like this and make it a pizza. But the same kind of thought process goes for, say, a taco bar or a salad bar or a stir fry. You can just take what you have on hand and literally throw it together in less amount of time than it takes to go through a drive-through to get food for your kids. So You can, if you didn't have portobello mushrooms on hand, there are easy cauliflower crusts that you could go through. You could have a deconstructed pizza and serve it on top of greens. You could have an almond flour crust, and there is all kinds of different recipes in the cookbook that let you do that. So Andrew, I'm gonna turn it over to you and have you tell people what you're doing right at this minute.
Okay, so I've got 4 beautiful portobello mushrooms, and to make a pizza, this cap is a little bit aggressive. So I'm scooping out the caps. You can save those. You can throw them into a vegetable stock. You can saute them in a pan and make them like a with a little butter, and make them like a vegetarian scallop if you
Oh,
like.
yeah.
Some people like to scoop the fins out, and that's pretty classic. And that will make your portobello mushroom more like a steak texture. The fins are, well, it's really not a flavor, but it's a texture. For this pizza application, they're perfectly fine. And Lexi, there's some nutrient benefits to the fins, correct?
When you use mushrooms, the inside fins that Andrew was describing, those, it almost looks like a fan shape inside there. They actually make vitamin D when you hold those fins up to the sun. So if vitamin D is an important nutrient for us, and for a lot of our kids it is, saving those fins is a good idea. But if you don't like the texture of them, like Andrew was talking about, you can definitely remove them. What do you like best, Andrew?
I like both. I mean, it's just really preference, but I mean, if you want the added nutrients, just like whether you want to peel a carrot, it's just about like what you like to get out of it. I want it to be most nutrient dense, and I like the fins. So I'm going to show you one how to do it. You just take a teaspoon, and you're just going to kind of easily scoop it out and go right into the compost or right into your vegetable stock. And that's basically it. It's super easy. So it's you can do either way. The rest I'm going to go with the fins in them. So I got that. That's the first ingredient. So this is a 4-ingredient. This is a 4-ingredient pizza.
So with this one,
So I got the bowl. What's that?
I was just going to talk a little bit about
So that's one.
nutrition. Yeah.
So the next ingredient, I'm very big fan of using. This is a new thing for me, but whole San Marzano tomatoes. I used to get a lot of like diced and peeled, but diced and crushed San Marzanos. But there's a whole movement that I'm finding that using whole tomatoes, and there's just a lot more to them. So this is a brand that I'm liking a lot. It's called Moody. It's a peeled San Marzano. If you look in the ingredients, it's peeled tomatoes and tomato juice. There's no salt. There's no other ingredients. It's just like pure. And this is a kid thing that could be easy to do. And this is going to be an ingredient that we include into one of the salad dressings as well. So there's a little bit of stuff on the top, but you're going to take out this whole tomato, and with your kiddos, make sure they wash their hands, but you're just going to mash the tomatoes by hand.
Oh, kids are going to get a kick out of
Super
that.
easy, right? It's
Yeah.
tactile. It's easy to go. So that's all it takes. And you have this beautiful San Marzano tomato.
And so you think, Andrew, that you retain more nutrients that way versus getting them already chopped, where they could be probably have a lot of that innards drained off, huh?
Well, yeah, I mean, because they're basically, if they chop them, they dice them, they drain it in the processing. This preserves all of the bits of the tomato. It's as closest to a fresh tomato as you're going to get. So if you're making marinara, if you're making pizza, this is the way to go. Like totally the way to go. All right, so I got that. So second ingredient, these San Marzano tomatoes. All you're going to do, just a little bit of tomato onto your portobello.
So if you have a kid that just is not going to eat a mushroom, there are so many different other options you can take. There's cauliflower crust that I've seen at Sprouts Market, for example, in the frozen department that really just have a couple of ingredients to them. They're just cauliflower usually, maybe an egg. I've seen egg wraps in the fresh aisle that are made with mostly just eggs, a little Parmesan cheese. There's a very famous one that is extremely low carbohydrates called Fathead Pizza Dough that is incredibly simple to put it together. Just literally 3 ingredients and you just bake it in the oven. And so those are all options for if you don't have a mushroom or if you have a kid that just absolutely isn't going to eat a mushroom. So we don't have to have any tried and true, like, can't make this if you don't have this particular ingredient on there. Oh, is that fresh basil?
This is fresh basil from the garden. These are a bunch of different herbs from my garden that we're showcasing. Fresh basil, just not even diced up, just simple, like whole leaves pulled off right into the pizza. And I like to do it between the sauce and the cheese because basil will like blacken in the oven if you don't chop it up and kind of get it to the right state. It kind of gets dark sometimes. So that's just perfect, right? So just a little bit of basil in there. I got a little bit of avocado oil just to dress it up. And one you're going to see not part of these 5 ingredients is salt and pepper. Salt and pepper is not considered an ingredient. It's a part of every single dish. So
I wasn't aware.
Nope, yep. Salt and pepper is a seasoning, and that is just the basis of things. So you got a little salt and pepper, a little bit of oil, a little bit of basil, and now we're going to go a little fresh mozzarella. And then this is where your kids can go crazy. Whatever their ingredient, their favorite toppings are, mushrooms. I have a little bit of uncured pepperoni that we're going here. Turkey pepperoni from Applegate Farms. That's my wife's favorite. This is our dinner tonight. We're 5 o'clock tonight, so I'm making dinner for us, not just for the show. So some Applegate uncured pepperoni. You could do bell peppers. You could do mushrooms. You could do artichokes. You could do ham and pineapple. I mean, if you're one of those people, you could do all that. So basically, you got that guy?
We've got it. It's beautiful.
And you're going to go 10 minutes into the oven.
So with this recipe, each large portobello pizza is just 215 calories. There's 14 grams of fat, 7 grams of net carbohydrate, and 14 grams of protein. And that's all coming from the cheese and that Applegate Farms pepperoni. The cool fact about this is that you can get vitamin D, you can get all kinds of great things from that mushrooms in a low quality carb package. But you can also get definitely calcium and zinc from that cheese. And that is something that's going to build those strong bones for those little guys running around, especially as they start going back to recess next week.
All right. So we're going to move on to 5 simple vinaigrettes. And so for me, I'm going to scroll to the view so you can see my stupid head talking for a second.
I see. Okay, there you go.
Okay. So vinaigrettes are, when you get the basis down, the equation, the sort of ratios, the sky's the limit. So for me, a simple vinaigrette is, for some people, it's 50-50 vinegar or an acid and 50% oil with a little bit of an emulsifier. An emulsifier is something that binds the fat and the liquid that are traditionally will not bind. So an emulsifier is your Dijon mustard, stone ground mustard, your tahini. In the classic Caesar, it's an egg yolk, maybe not appropriate for this for this group with immune compromisation. But egg yolk, a raw egg yolk for a Caesar dressing. Those are all emulsifiers. Avocado would be a good fat and emulsifier, just like the tahini. So 50% ratio of acid to oil, and then a tablespoon of emulsifier, and then flavoring. That's the only thing you need to remember. So we're going to do 5 different vinaigrettes. I like mine more of about a 60-40 or a 70-30. My wife is like super acidic things. I like it super sour. One thing we're not going to include in this recipe is a sweetener. You know, traditional culinary standpoint, you have acid, and then you're going to sweeten it to counter the balance of the acid with like a honey or like a agave syrup or a date sugar or like an alt sugar. We don't do any of that in my household because we just like it like super punchy. So you can choose your adventure. You can add a teaspoon or a tablespoon of something sweet, and it'll counter the acid. But in this case, we're just going to do 5 ingredients, excluding the salt and pepper, and they're going to give you 5 different flavors, 5 different styles. Okay, so let me switch back to the vinaigrette can. So we're doing right here on the left. We're going into fall. This is apple cider vinegar. And one other thing I want to talk about. You always want to do the acid in your jar or your vinaigrette first. You want acid, and you want the flavor profile, and then you want your emulsifier, and then the oil in that step. Because once you bind everything with the oil, you'll never ever get any flavor. So I have this apple cider vinegar. I'm going to put some fresh thyme in there. This is going to be a apple cider vinegar, fresh thyme, and bacon fat. The oil is going to be rendered bacon fat. So this one is super good with like a spinach salad, an arugula salad. We're going into like Thanksgiving. It'll be really good with like a shaved Brussels sprout salad. I mean, it's fantastic. It's one of my favorite dressings. So I've got apple cider vinegar. I've got a little bit fresh thyme. It's flowering. It was fantastic. It's going in there. A little bit of salt and pepper.
Andrew, if you don't have a garden, is the dried thyme okay?
Dried herbs are certainly fine. You just need to make sure you're getting the right proportion. I use quite a bit of fresh herbs, but dried herbs will be a little bit more. They'll produce a lot more flavor, so you will need less as a volume. So right now I got apple cider vinegar, I got fresh thyme, I got salt and pepper. I'm going to hit it with a little stone ground mustard.
I wanted to say too, that it's so much fun for kids to try new and different things. So what Andrew has set up here for you is literally a smorgasbord of different flavors and smells. And so getting kids in on the excitement of that trial, getting kids in on, hey, this is time, you want to smell it. Hey, can you pick it out from the color that it is such an important thing to do to get kids to try to start experimenting with new flavors and things. They don't even have to actually eat it. Just that opportunity to play with it is incredible. And I know that if thyme is a new to you spice, you may not want to go out and spend $5 on a bottle of a spice that you don't know for sure if your kid is going to like or not. So almost every grocery store has the ability to buy things in bulk. You literally can get a couple of tablespoons of a jar of thyme, and it might be 50 cents, and then just represent a really fun thing like Andrew is doing right now, where you just get to play with it.
Okay, so before I go on with the first, my favorite, the warm bacon vinaigrette, we're going to talk about all 5 of these. So this will be the warm bacon vinaigrette with fresh thyme and apple cider vinegar. It's like super classic spinach salad. I could eat like 2 pounds of spinach in this dressing. The next one will be a version of a French dressing. French dressings don't really happen anymore in our society. I feel like it's like we passed on. We're like on to like blue cheese and ranch, and this is going to be a sort of like a Catalina French dressing. So this is going to be red wine vinegar. I used 1 tomato from the San Marzanos that we just put into our portobello mushrooms. And we're going to do a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, salt and pepper. That's simply it. It's going to be a tomato vinegar dressing, French or Catalina. And then we're going to move on. The next one is going to be Asian inspired. So this is fresh orange juice and a little bit of rice wine vinegar. We're going to do a little bit of ginger, and we're going to do a little bit of Primal Kitchen avocado oil. So let's talk about oils. Oils are really important in this process. Oils are fats. You can use olive oil, but olive oil is not necessarily neutral in flavor. So if you want a dressing that's going to be super hearty, if you're going to use like a balsamic, you can use an olive oil. But if you and this like tomato French, olive oil is okay. But you want in a dressing that has a little bit more finite, sort of like nuanced flavor, you want to use an oil that has less flavor. It's more basic. So avocado is a good version. I really like Primal Kitchens. That's what I have in this bottle here, and that's where we're going to go for the rest of them. So far we have a hot bacon vinaigrette, we have a French dressing, we have an orange ginger Asian dressing, and then we're going to do a Greek dressing because my wife is Greek. That's going to be a white balsamic or white wine vinegar, fresh oregano, a little bit of mustard as the emulsifier, and then some of the avocado and the olive oil. And then the last one over here, and last but not least, is a lemon tahini. So we're going to use tahini as the emulsifier. And tahini, if you're not familiar with it, it is basically a sesame butter, like a pumpkin butter, like a sunflower butter or a peanut butter. Tahini is a butter, and that's like the basis of hummus, and it kind of really mitigates the lemon flavor. So we're going to do fresh lemon, we're going to do tahini, we're going to do lemon verbena from the garden, this guy over here, we're going to bring that into the picture, and then a little bit of the avocado oil. So those are our 5 varieties. It's going to be super easy. 4 of them, 3 of them, I'm going to do in this jar with a lid. And then the 2 of them, because I just dropped an entire tomato into this jar, I'm going to do with an immersion blend. Let me check on my pizzas.
So one of the fun things about these recipes as well is that if you think about buying a bottled dressing from the store, you get to just bring it home and it can last in the refrigerator for up to 3 months or longer. When you're, oh, those are gorgeous, Andrew. When you're using it, go ahead.
There's our Portobello pizzas. They are ready to go. And there's my timer. I caught it just before. Alexa, stop timer.
Beautiful. I don't think you made enough. I think your family's going to be begging for more.
It's just me and Kristen.
Yeah, gotcha. So with these salad dressings, if you buy a store-bought one, like I said, they're going to last for 3 months. But if you're going to make it yourself, you can see it really doesn't take a lot of time to put it together. But if you wanted to, you could make a double or a triple batch of what Andrew is suggesting there. And on page 174 in the cookbook, he has 3 different variations of dressings with exactly the amount of measurements. You can make a double or a triple batch if you like it. And then you could store it in ice cube trays in the freezer, and then just bring out a couple of ice cubes and let them defrost while you're making the rest of dinner. And it's fabulous for having dressings, fresh dressings with all this nutrient density to them, with great high quality oils ready to go all the time, and capture the fresh essence of these fresh herbs as well. So good. So it looks like you're putting that amazing bacon into that dressing.
Yeah, so this was Sprouts Market, uncured applewood bacon. It's a little bit cooled off now, so it's not moving as quickly. If I can do this a little bit better on the camera. I'm just pouring off the fat. I'm saving the bacon for BLTs, for these beautiful tomatoes I got out in the garden. and I have the rest of that ingredients there, and that's not quite enough fat. So I'm going to add a little bit more oil into it, just to get to the 50-50 ratio that I'm talking about. And I have this immersion blender. This is my new favorite tool. It's a KitchenAid. It's an immersion blender, but it's cordless. So that's fantastic. So so you got that guy. I'm just gonna give it a little whip.
I'm gonna mute you while you do that, Andrew, and then answer a question. Okay, so we did have a question, and that was, where can you get the cookbook? And right now the cookbook is just available on the Max Love website, and I'm going to type my answer with the link into the chat box there, but also speak it too for those people that are going to be watching the recorded version. And so it's just Max Love Project, and that is www.maxloveproject.org/MLP-cookbook. You can order the cookbook right now that way. And then there's just a few copies left, but there are a few copies still. And we are doing a really fabulous new thing with the cookbook, in that we've had enough fundraising that we can actually do an index, hire a professional indexer and get an index in the back of the book with these recipes. That's something that we couldn't afford to do on the first go around, but we now have one, and she's putting that all together. And that is going to be available on Barnes and Noble. And that should be right around October or November. And then you can just order your own copy. And then from there on out, you could order as many copies as you want. The first set of cookbooks that we did, we actually just ordered 500. And we're almost out of the first set of cookbooks, but that second edition coming out with these wonderful new upgrades will be probably the latter part of October. And we'll make a big announcement when that's out. All right, I am going to unmute Andrew, and that way, actually, once he's done aerating that, I'm gonna unmute him. But I think, Andrew, you have to unmute yourself. So sorry about that.
No problem. So we've moved on to the Catalina French dressing, red wine vinegar, San Marzano tomato, a little bit of mustard, salt, pepper, good olive oil. That's it. That's all you have to do. Super simple. And then I blitzed that with the immersion blender because of the whole tomato. And then you have your other dressing over here. You can put these in a jar. Like Lexi said, you could freeze these up to a couple months in a
Ice cube tray.
Ice cube tray, and pop them out. Like you have 2 ounces at a time. So far we've got 2. This is easy. You can make your entire family's dressing, 5 different family members in about 20 minutes. So this one is the Asian version. We have a little bit of orange juice, a little rice wine vinegar.
And if you don't have an immersion blender, you can definitely use a regular blender, right?
You certainly can. You don't really need to. I mean, unless you're doing like the tomato on this one, all you need to really do is have the lid and shake it up.
Yeah, great point.
So ginger has a super thin skin, so you don't need a peeler because you'll take too much away. So basically, you just need a spoon. That's my dog. We're outside in my kitchen. So.
Oh, that's so cool. That is so nice. Because I almost can't figure out how you get those little pieces with the vegetable peeler. The back of the spoon is awesome.
Yeah. It actually it's super thin. So all you do is take a little bit like that and then kind of give it a good chop. Somebody's here. My dogs are alerting us.
We can't hear them.
So, okay, good. We're going to do a little chop on the ginger. No, this is the Asian. So this is orange, rice wine vinegar, about a tablespoon of fresh ginger. We're going to go right in there. Your basic salt and pepper. And I'm using pint size, quart size, what you call it, mason jars, which are kind of my. So I'm going to get that guy going, and then I'm going to take you're going to feather in the oil to the consistency that you want, and you'll see the emulsification happen.
For those that have been with us for a long time, Andrew's hands are official measurements. But if you need an actual measuring,
they are with the FDA.
He does
right.
have those measurements for you on page 174.
So there is your third dressing. Oh boy.
So with these recipes, like we were talking about, these fresh herbs are gonna be packed with nutrients. Fresh herbs are a very nutrient dense way of getting in some of these phytochemicals that are so important for health. Things like antioxidants and polyphenols, they're really densely packed into these fresh herbs. But again, if you don't have them, it's really not a big deal. You can absolutely apply a dried spice to the equation as well, and pour it all over these dark green vegetables. So you're getting all these nutrients that way.
Okay. It looks like I've lost second camera. So I'm going to go to the alt camera.
All right.
We're going to alt COVID setup. We're now looking at my belly and the vinaigrettes. Here we go. So I got the fourth vinaigrette, and that is the fresh Greek vinaigrette. There's some like fresh oregano there. I have a little bit of white wine vinegar. It's actually white wine balsamic from Temecula olive oil. My friends up there. So we're just going to do fresh oregano. We're going to do a little bit of stone ground mustard. You're seeing a pattern, a little salt, a little pepper. It's really just 4 to 5 things. You just do it over and over. All you do is just come up with what you want to do with your flavors, and then go on it. So immersion blender.
And if you have a blender at home and you literally can pour the oil through the top as you're blending, and do it that way. And if, like Andrew said, you don't have a blender, using a fork or using a whisk, I know you're not going to have enough hands there. One's holding the bowl and one's holding the whisk. But layering those ingredients into that mason jar, like he talked about, is something that's going to help you get all those different ingredients all emulsified in there. In the cookbook itself, there are 3 recipes that were given there with the very specific ingredient sizes are lemon vinaigrette, bacon vinaigrette, and a balsamic vinaigrette. And my family is Italian, and so so simple to even make an individual size recipe doing this, because I literally put now I will put the vinegar in the bottom, but I didn't before. I'll put the vinegar in the bottom. I use balsamic in mine, but I also have red wine vinegar if I wanted to go that route. And then I go olive oil, and I do a 50-50 swap. And then I do the dried oregano because I don't have fresh oregano in my house. And then salt and pepper. And then I just a dollop of I use a Dijon mustard in mine. I don't know what Andrew would say about that, but that is my, yeah, good.
Yeah, no, I'm just using stone ground because it's a stone ground Dijon. So I just like the granule mustard, but it's all mustard is mustard. Mustard, you can use a yellow, you can use a straight Dijon, you can use a stone ground like a German style. Mustard is it's just gonna be a flavor. It's just your personal preference as far as what you choose to use as the variety.
Well, the other day I was coming home and I didn't have anybody that needed to be in the house that I needed to cook for, but I was starving and I wanted dinner on the table right now. And so I literally dropped by Sprouts. I grabbed one of those bag salad mixes that have all the ingredients chopped up already. They have the broccoli and the cabbage and the carrots and everything literally chopped up, pre-cut. but they have salad dressing in there that didn't have ingredients that I wanted to put in my body. And so I just dropped that little salad dressing thing in the trash, and I'm not advocating throwing away food, but in a pinch, I would rather go grab something like that and whip myself up a little individual Italian vinaigrette, a couple teaspoons of olive oil, 1 teaspoon of the vinegar, a dollop of that Dijon, and then the salt and pepper, shake it around, and there is my salad. And then I just had a protein left over from the day before. So I stuck it all in a big bowl with my chopped greens, tossed it all together, and a really satisfying dinner was done. And it was done in less than 5 minutes. I'm really excited about the tahini dressing, though. I love tahini, Andrew.
So this is the last dressing. This is one of my favorites. Fresh lemon juice, salt and pepper. If you don't have fresh lemon verbena around, like I have the blessing of having lemon verbena trees growing in the backyard, you could just negate that and use your favorite herb. Right now we're in basil season. Basil would be really good. Oregano, thyme, chives. I'm just going to go some of these lemon verbena in there. Fresh, bang, like that. I'm going to take this tahini. I like this one because it's a squeeze bottle tahini. It's called Seed and Mill from New York. Just going to go a little squirt in there, about a tablespoon.
Where'd you get that one? I only ever see the 365 brand or the brand from Sprouts. Where did you get that one?
This is from Sprouts.
Oh, I've never seen
Sprouts
it.
is my go-to. So we're going to do that guy with a little bit of the avocado oil. I did salt and pepper, of course, like any good chef should. And it's lighting up. You can see that the emulsification is really happening, and the lemon is really popping in there. And that guy is just fantastic. So there is, in 1 hour, we made dinner and we made dressing for 5 unique salad dressing eaters.
Woohoo. All right, so just a little bit more information about why you would want to eat simply is just that, it decreases time, it increases nutrients, and it just takes away a little bit more stress, and it gives the kids a chance to learn different flavors and flavors that they want and are excited to try. It's like a science experiment in the kitchen. You can't go wrong, and you might create something that you didn't love, but Andrew's got fixes for that too. So Andrew, if I added a little bit too much of the vinegar, what should I add to counter that to make it less pungent?
More oil or
Right.
sweetener.
Right. What happens if I did too much salt?
More of everything. The only way to get away from too much salt is to increase the volume of your total product.
Okay. So what happens if I put too much lemon verbena? More of everything?
More of everything. Yeah,
Okay.
but I don't think there's too much lemon verbena.
Okay. All right. That sounds good.
Salt there isn't salt, I understand. Lemon verbena, it would be really hard pressed to go too far on lemon verbena.
So salt, acid, sweet, and what was the other one? Umami. Just add the opposite.
The ratios of vinaigrette are anywhere from 50 to 70% acid in the bottom, flavoring, herbs, aromatics, your emulsifier, a mustard, a tahini, an egg yolk, and then 50% to 30% oil on the top. So that's the ratio. If you go 50-50, then it's super easy. And then, so you're just doing 50% acid, juice, vinegar, and then 50% fat, bacon fat, chicken fat, olive oil, avocado oil, any oils, and then blend it, or just get this jar, chop the ingredients up fine, and then give it a good shake. And then you have an emulsified vinaigrette. An emulsified vinaigrette, the emulsification is you bound the fat and the acid together, and it will typically not break if you've got the right amount of emulsification in there. And you put this right in the fridge. Make sure you label it with what it is, because you now have 5 vinaigrettes in the fridge, and your whole family's got something to eat.
Woohoo. All right, so we've talked about, what to cook. We've talked about why you would want to cook simply. And so just a couple of tips on how. First of all, realize that what works for one family may not work for another. It works for me and my family if I plan out the recipes. If planning makes you stressed out, then don't go with that idea. If you're not a planner, go with tried and true. So if you love tacos, taco bars are so easy to put together with whatever you have in your house. If you love salad bars, go that way. If you've got kids that don't like their ingredients to touch, then bento boxes is a great way. Have your proteins, your hard-boiled eggs, your chopped and cubed chicken or turkey or steak, or beans as your proteins, and then have some chopped veggies, and then have chopped fruit, and then some healthy fats like the avocado or nuts and seeds. And then you can put them together in a container for bento boxes, or just arrange them on a plate for bento boxes. But also stir fries, or even, breakfast for dinner, omelets and things like that. So a lot of these recipes are already in the cookbook. When we think about another way to help us make things simply and simplify our lives when it comes to cooking, we think about, what are the basics that I want to have in my pantry? What are the basic things that are necessary? So Andrew brought up a lot of oils today, and he brought up a lot of spices. So you definitely want olive oil. You definitely would like to have some avocado oil for those things that do require a more gentle flavor approach in there. But also coconut oil is a possibility for a healthy oil too. And the ghee, or the grass-fed butter, like he was talking about, or the rendered bacon fat that he was using as well. If you're thinking about some of the most important spices for you to have on hand, in my house, we cook a lot of Italian. I like to have a lot of the oregano, basil, and parsley on hand, but we also like to cook a lot of Mexican food. And so cumin and coriander and chili powder are important for me to have on hand too. So remember that trick with buying from some of those bulk jars in the grocery store if you want to try some new flavors. But you can also just keep those tried and true ones that you have for the flavors that you like on hand. But kitchen window gardens are such a great idea as well. If you buy a basil plant for $4, that might last you the entire season with snipping on it, leaving it in your window sill, and having it regrow all the time. And then for $4, you've just had an entire summer of fresh basil right there, ready to go for you. But if you think about, having the healthy proteins on hand, having chopped up fruit and veggies on hand, you can save time by letting the grocer or the butcher chop it and prep it for you. Those are generally more expensive, but you can buy, like, if you want to have healthy snacks on hand for the kids, buy a cucumber and chop it up. So easy. If you don't want to go through the process of making a hard-boiled egg, but there is a recipe for hard-boiled eggs in the cookbook, you can buy a bag of already pre-boiled, pre-shell removed hard-boiled eggs. And that's fabulous for a snack to have on hand. So cheese sticks, chopped bell peppers, chopped cucumbers, chopped jicama, nuts, berries, all of those things you can find pre-ready to go in the grocery store that are whole, nutrient-dense foods. And then some of the other ones that I just wanted to point out in the cookbook that are real simple, ready to go, so easy to do, is on page 66, there's an easy baked salmon recipe that Andrew came up with that literally has like 4 ingredients. You buy the fish with the skin on, you lay it on a baking sheet, you put a couple ingredients on the top, 450 for 5 minutes, 350 for 10 minutes, and then you pull it out of the oven and the fish just slides off the skin. You don't even have to cut it off. It's so easy. And then the easy pan chicken fajitas, he puts just chicken with a couple of different spices and ingredients on there, tosses it around with some veggies, onions, and garlic, throws it on a pan, and a half an hour dinner is ready to go. And you can have leftovers for the next night and put them into the easy Southwest baked dinner too. So he has crock pot recipes in there. And then, consider doing some of this meal prep in advance, like Andrew did today with all these awesome salad dressings, because a little bit of work today and he's got it in the freezer ready to go for months. So that is the ideas that we wanted to offer today about the how to make things simple in the kitchen. And we want to make these cookbook clubs for you and about you, and they basically are about you because you have helped us fine tune all the recipes that went into this cookbook. But we want your questions, we want your comments, we want your requests of what you would like to hear about in the future. So please hit us up in the app, hit us up right now in the chat or the Q&A, and we'd love to hear from you. Any last thoughts to add, Andrew?
I'm ready for dinner.
Yeah, you are ready for
hot
dinner.
in Southern California on a last day of summer in my world. I don't know about everybody else's world, and it's been a good day.
Yeah, it's been a fabulous day. All right, so a bon appetit. Enjoy that meal for you and your wife, and we will see you next month for another edition of our cookbook club. And those are so pretty. I just love seeing all that. Yum. I can smell them from here. All right,
You're
guys.
right down the street, like you
Yeah,
probably
I
can.
know. I could drive right over and grab some. All right, guys. Thanks so much for attending. We'll see you
Thanks,
soon.
everybody. See you next month.
Bye-bye.